Nina, welcome to Impact Deconstructed.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back speaking with you.
The last time you and I spoke in terms of the work that you're doing at Lemonade, this was 2021. I had to do a look back. So it's been quite some time since we've actually talked about the work that you've been doing. And I know it's evolved over the years. And I'm really excited to dig into the work that you've been doing and really focus in on a program initiative that's near and dear to your heart and just deconstruct it and talk about it and go from there.
Amazing. Yes, we made some changes early 2026, so I'm really excited to talk about our new direct grant program. It will be great. So, hi, my name is Nina. I lead social impact at Lemonade, and I'll explain more about the company in just a moment. I joined the impact sector early on. I discovered it around age 16. I founded my own nonprofit in memory of my mother, specifically raising awareness of breast cancer amongst younger generations. And then I took this university with me, grew it to a nationwide initiative, which was really, motivating, entered the nonprofit sector, and then in late 2018, early 2019, joined Lemonade, so made that jump into corporate social impact, and I have been there ever since. So today I'm going to be speaking more broadly about social impact at Lemonade, but also how it has evolved this year specifically and a very new initiative that we're currently working on. So, a little bit of background on Lemonade before we dig in. We are a certified public benefit corporation and B Corp, which means that we build social impact directly into our business model. And this has been part of the mindset since 2017 when we launched Lemonade with our Giveback program, which is our inbuilt philanthropic arm. We've supported over 100 different nonprofits and directed over $12 million to causes that are close to our customers' heart. Now, Giveback isn't traditional philanthropy, it's actually how we operate. We like to say that we make insurance suck less, and Giveback and our social impact programming is a crucial part of how we achieve that. So, in an industry where trust is often broken, Giveback aligns our business with our values, and we hope to continue influencing our peers in the insurance sector as well. So, it's how we're building insurance that people can feel good about and becoming the most loved insurance company in the world. So, before we talk about what's next, a quick reminder of the impact that Lemonade has already built. We've donated over $12 million via the Giveback program, and by end of year, that will reach over $14 million. We do internal volunteering and events, so we have a really robust internal impact program. We've planted over 150,000 trees via the Lemonade Car. So, this is our car insurance product that we launched around 2021. And we specifically wanted to make sure we're also thinking about the environment. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but with each product line, we're trying to think how can we do good in the industry that we find ourselves within. We have our Lemonade Foundation. We've insured over 300,000 farmers, and we are a proud B Corp and public benefit corporation. But in 2026, we decided it was time for change. So we had been doing Give Back the same way since we launched, and that meant working with tons of different organizations and often breaking down large numbers into small amounts. In 2026, we evolved the Give Back model to focus on a smaller number of cause areas, which is going to allow us to go deeper, increase our funding over time, and respond to real world needs as they arise. So customers still choose causes that they care about, but they exist within a sector, and that helps us shape how funds are allocated, but gives us a little bit more control to ensure we're working with the most impactful organizations out there. Plus, instead of Give Back happening once a year, so it was usually an annual thing, it now comes to life quarterly, which creates more frequent moments of impact, storytelling, and engagement. So this is kind of an overview of our thinking as we approach the change, and now I'm going to delve in. So, as I said, we had Giveback and it worked, but now it's time to scale it. Since our launch, Giveback has grown 4,000%. But as we grew, we started asking ourselves, surely we could be doing more and helping more people if we had a better strategy and higher impact. The old model was starting to show its limits. We had way too many nonprofits, which meant that even though we started giving up to the millions, the first time we did a give back, it was $53,000. But give back grows as Lemonade grows. Lemonade became a public company in 2020. Our growth has been immense, which means the level we're giving back is reaching millions of dollars. But we were still working with so many organizations, and our impact was really being diluted. Our customers would experience quite a clunky experience. They would scroll through hundreds of organizations to select the one that they felt closest to, which kind of meant that most customers were just choosing the first one they saw. We had a very rigid donation schedule, so it was only in July, and this really limited our ability to respond to crises in real time. And with so many recipients, it was hard for our customers, employee, and our press to connect with our impact. How do we actually want our customers to experience Giveback? And I'm focusing on customers here, but of course, when I think about the Giveback and the social impact, I'm thinking of all our stakeholders. So that includes employees, it includes investors. But let's talk about customers just in terms of the UX. We want it to be seamless and easy. We want impact to feel like every other part of the product. I want them to have frequent touch points in their customer journey with our impact. We want it to feel really personal, and I want it to be a loyalty feature. So it's not just something that, is a nice to have, but it actually is something that engages our customers and a reason they come back and keep choosing Lemonade. So, what were our key goals when we started to re strategize and think about Giveback? Deepen customer loyalty, strengthen employee connection, reinforce our brand of making insurance suck less with these very authentic impact partnerships, and most importantly, make it easy to talk about Giveback and our impact. So how are we going to measure success as we look through these changes? Like I said, customer engagement, I want to see an increase in category selection and how many customers are selecting Giveback. I want to see a higher retention and a stronger brand affinity with customers who care about Giveback, who talk about Lemonade's social impact. We want to see higher engagement across social. So are they tweeting about it? Are they, or I don't know what you call it, Xing about it? Are they writing LinkedIn posts where they're celebrating Lemonade's social impact? I want my employees and my colleagues and everybody who works at Lemonade to feel like they really get a piece of the social impact programming, and we want to be able to tell our story better. Social impact at Lemonade makes for around a quarter of press hits that we get, but we want to make sure we're constantly thinking about how do we make that stronger. So introducing Giveback 2.0. This is how in the early 2026 we decided to update our Giveback model, which was a huge decision for something that's been a legacy part of the brand since before we even had our very first insurance policy. But customers now select from 5 focus areas aligned with our brand. We're doing donations every quarter. So that means for our organizations, we can get money to them when they need it most. They don't need to wait until July anymore. And for our brand, it's multiple touch points for our community. We're streamlining our investment. So I'm prioritizing much larger amounts, but fewer organizations to help us reach even more people. We're big fans of the effective altruism model. And that's something I really looked at when I was updating Giveback, and a clearer Giveback experience. So we updated the flow and our website and the UX, which we've already looked at, to make Giveback much easier to understand. So now you can see the updated flow. Instead of this endless scroll, you just have 5 categories, cause categories that you select from and you trust and kind of engage with us about where that funding will go next. And also, this is how we've kind of laid out the strategy for Giveback in 2026. So Q1 is focusing on uplift communities, and I'll get into a little bit of where that funding has already gone. We've just finished Q2 where we gave back to emergency response. I specifically chose to fund emergency response in Q2 because we know that this is peak natural disaster season. In Q3, we're focusing on protecting our planet. We used to work with nearly 20 climate organizations. We've scaled that down to just focusing on our partnership with Charity Water because I want to focus in on that goal of reaching 100,000 people given clean water. We're already at 52,000, so we're over halfway there. And that's just a challenge we would never have been able to reach if we continued to spread ourselves too thin. And then in Q4, it's all about our pet product and our pet parents, and we're focusing on animal causes. So what exactly will 2026 look like? In Q1, we donated $250,000 to New Story to build permanent homes for 340 families, and I'll speak to that more clearly in just a bit. In Q2, we're focusing on emergency response, strong partnerships with Direct Relief and Give Directly. In Q3, it's all about our charity water partnership, and in Q4, we're working with Muddy Paws and our vets to bring about a strong impact campaign. So Q1, where exactly did the money go? So like I said, we took that large amount that we used to only give once a year and we've split it up. And here you can see the real examples of how that impact is maxing. So we partnered with News Stories. They're one of our favorite partners. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. They're fantastic. They do really innovative work in the impact space. We built 340 families, new homes. That's around 1,200 people, where nearly half of these families live below the poverty line. And we actually planted a fruit tree for every one of our Lemonade employees. We call them makers. We also, you can kind of see here exactly how much that impact is growing from switching up the model. So since 2017, we managed to build 217 homes, but in Q1 alone, we built homes for 340 families. In Uplift Communities, we're also focusing on veterans. So we're funding a network of around 440,000 veterans directly to the American Red Cross rehab program. So again, we're able to increase the level of donations we had previously. Since 2017, we've supported 91,000 veterans, but in Q1 alone, we're reaching 400,000 veterans. So by donating larger amounts and diluting less, we're creating over 300% greater impact. We also donated to the Children's Cancer Centre in London. We're able to really deepen our partnership there, and we're really proud to be early funders of this project. In Q2, we're focusing on emergency response. So we want to ensure life-saving care is available before, during, and after emergencies. We focused on US disaster focus, so $150,000 to Give Directly. This is pre-positioned funding. We worked closely with Give Directly. I'm a massive fan of the work they're doing to ensure that support would reach families within days, sometimes even hours, rather than weeks. They told us that one of the main issues emergency organizations are facing is actually outpaced funding, meaning they need to get on the ground the second a disaster happens, but they might not have the funds ready to spend. So one of the most important work that we can do is to do that pre-positioned funding. And Give Directly works with a new model. It's a cash first model, which is actually proven to be 25% more effective when it comes to aid. We also have donated $200,000 to Direct Relief. This is for hurricane preparedness, funding 16,000 patients to get access to essential medicines. And in the EU, so we obviously expanded into the EU in late 2020. So we obviously want to make sure that we're also funding causes there. We've done $40,000 to ensure 1,300 displaced people can stay safe and protected. And as you can see again, how this impact is really growing with the new model. So since 2017, we've helped approximately 193,000 people with disaster and emergency response. But actually, our donations in Q2 alone make up 15% of that total impact. So in my role, it's been really inspiring to kind of see that this project that we worked on for over 6 months to rehaul the entire Giveback and the thinking and to speak to all the key stakeholders is proving the goal. So we are triple Xing our impact. We are making sure that our money is going further now that we are starting to give big amounts. And I want to move to the next big change that we made and introduce you to our Giveback grant. So this is the very first time we're doing anything like this. Every year we receive hundreds of requests from employees and customers to support local nonprofits. And we never really had a way to meet that demand, except when we came up with Giveback grants, this was the first time we were actually able to access our customers' requests directly. So we launched a customer and employee-led fund where you can actually nominate local projects that matter to you. Each quarter, a portion of our Giveback funding is actually going to go directly to these community-nominated organizations. Working with partners that give directly, some funds will be able to reach communities in as little as 24 hours. And that keeps the idea of micro donations at the heart of Giveback, even as we scale. In the role of social impact, obviously I grew very attached to the way the model worked, which is every year over 60 nonprofits would get a breakdown of a total of $3 million. And that could, look like $5,000 or it could look like $100,000. And I wanted to make sure we still had that small boost as part of the model, even though we're now focusing on much larger numbers. So this is how it works. It's a very simple form. You select a customer or Lemonade employee, you submit it, and then we review the application. So for our very first Giveback grants, we reviewed over 250 customer applications under the theme of Uplift Communities. We chose 15 local organizations to fund. We were able to reach more states throughout the US than any previous Giveback cycle. These were all first time partners, and it was the first time I had heard of majority of these causes. And the maximum donation we gave was $5,000 to meet very specific needs. Here you can see kind of the level of depth that our customers have gone into when they were doing their applications. This is just a snippet, but there were really, really long entries. And then, of course, we did our own due diligence. But it was really amazing to see that Lemonade customers who are part of this socially impactful brand, they actually also care and they actually want to engage with social impact more directly. Here are just a few quotes from the application. So, a huge impact to have Lemonade as a partner, small volunteer organization that depends on support like Lemonade to keep our doors open, and how one of our customers with the nonprofit they presented would actually be able to hire a team with experience to get their feet off the ground. So I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of where these small grants to go so you can kind of see the direct level of impact. In Oakland, where we are funding a community school where half of families live below the poverty line, and we bought gardening tools for all the kids in the community. Philadelphia, 6 low-income students will be supported beyond high school. San Francisco, we're training 50 volunteers for special education in underserved school. Camp Anchor was actually nominated by one of our employees who has volunteered there since the age of 14, and it provides support for people with special needs. We actually had a request to help rebuild therapeutic stables that burnt down after a fire. That was in Maryland. In London, we got a really, impactful request to help partially fund a disability swimming club that is facing closure. One of our customers who has a rare form of cancer actually nominated a charity that had been helping them to reach their appointments. Another one of our customer, they nominated a cause that was founded in memory of their two brothers that had passed away and will be funding 30 workshops for at-risk community members. And the Lenny Maid Foundation, I just want to highlight that as well, as one of our employees whose very close childhood friend passed away, and they founded this foundation to support children who had lost a parent. So really kind of what these micro grants show is that even though Giveback has changed and we are focusing on much larger donations and fewer organizations on a kind of higher corporate level, on the customer and employee level, we're still going local and we can still save $5,000, which was at the core of Giveback, how we very first started, is going to make a clear impact. So just to round up, I took this very sweet quote from the first impact report Lemonade ever did, announcing $53,000 to be donated. And it says, while we expect Giveback to grow as we grow, which thank God it has, in the right hands, $53,000 can already be impactful. So Giveback proved something really powerful. When social impact is built into the business from day one, into the product from day one, it will scale with us as we grow. It came with us through European expansion, it came with us through IPO, and now we can kind of transform the way that we give back. So now it's time to 10x the impact. Thank you so much for listening, and it was so exciting to share Giveback 2.0 with you.
This is so impressive. You have grown so much since 2021. Congratulations, number one. You There are several things I want to dig into a little bit. The first one, give back grants. I love that Lemonade customers are involved and are engaged in give back grants. Can you speak to the customer loyalty part? And the reason I'm asking this question is because a lot of practitioners that I've spoken to over the last year and some change are really focusing on how to drive business value through the work that they're doing. And customer loyalty is obviously one of those levers that they can influence. Can you talk to how your work has influenced customer loyalty?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really important conversation to be having. And I actually think we spoke about this the first time in 2021, is that social impact has to be thought of as part of the business strategy. Otherwise, it will just become an afterthought. And for Lemonade, we always thought, we're an insurance company. How can you build trust? You build trust by proving that you care about something bigger and that you actually care about your insurance company being there for you as a customer when we need them the most, because that's what insurance at its core is supposed to do. So that was why it was so important to us to kind of strengthen loyalty through social impact. And I think customers, really do care, and they're given the opportunity to care and to engage with causes and to choose where the money goes. And that makes me as a customer want to come back and say, hey, every year I get this email that says my policy helped influence where $3 million went. Of course, I want to stay loyal to this company because it's a little piece of good news, and it makes me think that they care about more than just, profit and getting my payments every month. So I think that social impact is a really powerful tool to connect with customers directly. And I read every single email that comes to my inbox. Customers write to me all the time suggesting nonprofits. That's a real testament of customer loyalty. I'm not sure many other companies can say that you can reach out with a cause that's important to you, and there's a real person reading that email saying, okay, I will of course consider this organization if it aligns with, we obviously have certain legislation that we have to comply with, but I'm going to look into it. Maybe you can now apply directly for a Giveback grant. Maybe we'll consider it for the larger Giveback program. There's something in it for everyone, and I think that's a really great use of social impact.
If a fellow practitioner was thinking about customer loyalty and actually building a program that has that kind of baked into the work that they're doing, based off of what you've learned through the Give Back program and Give Back grants now, is there any advice you would give that individual?
Definitely. Make it as direct as possible. It can't feel vague and it can't feel disconnected to the customer because you've lost that loyalty piece. If I don't understand why the company is giving to that cause, or if I don't really feel that my policy makes a difference, or my, me being a customer makes a difference, I don't think you're going to have any loyalty from that customer. I see companies all the time with quite random impact partnerships, and you kind of want to ask, why did you go for that? What's the thought process behind it? And I think every customer should be able to say, hey, Lemonade gives to charity water, or they help with rental relief payments, or they build homes and we do home insurance. Like, how does this all fit together in a really neat way that makes it feel obvious? So I think make it transparent and obvious and direct. Those are the most important things to increase customer loyalty with impact.
And focusing on the cause areas, how visible are you and Lemonade when it comes to talking about the cause areas that you're focused on?
Super visible. I mean, it's one of the first things that you would see in the app. You have to do it before you finish your policy sign up. And we chose these specific cause areas based on customer behavior. So over the last 10 years, we've seen where our customers wanted to donate money to. I've seen the type of causes that have been submitted and nominated for our main Give Back program. So that would be a real focus on pet causes. We've seen that a lot from now our pet product and pet parents, people really caring about emergency response, especially with the increase in humanitarian disasters in the US specifically, and an increase in climate crises. So these cause categories aren't random, they're direct feedback from customer behavior. And so, yeah, we're very open about it, and there's a chance they may change. But right now, that's reflective of our customer base.
I see. So you're very much front and center with it.
Yeah, I think so. And I would, it would be odd to me to not be front and center with it, because then something in the strategy would not make sense. If you can't really talk about why you've chosen those areas, then you should be giving somewhere else.
Speaking of strategy, no. So obviously, overhauling a strategy is no easy feat.
No.
I'm curious to learn more about the challenges that you encountered and really the thought process around like how do we actually overhaul this entire strategy that we've had for such a long time?
Yes, such a great question. It was just kind of nagging at me. Like it started very small. When I joined the company, it was, I think, the second or third year of Giveback, and we suddenly had gone from 100K to 500K. That still felt huge. So splitting 500K to 40 organizations when we were at that scale felt massive, and that the impact was so high. But then as we started to hit, over $3 million being donated, to then split that down into 60 organizations and really just see those dollar amounts filter down, anyone who works in impact is going to start feeling a bit conflicted because you believe in the model and it worked when you were giving less, because on a smaller scale, small means more to these small organizations. But now that you have a lot more to give, you can't help but hear the voice in the back of your head saying, hey, hold on, you're diluting your impact too much. It's not doing the most that it can do. So about I want to say a year and a half, 2 years ago, the conversations began of how can we rehaul give back? Can we even touch something that's been integral to the product since day one and is integral to our founders? You know, who are we to say to our customers, actually, the way that we've all been doing it collectively since you very first got a lemonade policy is about to change. But we really knew that we couldn't necessarily stand behind the impact model in the same way. And now that I've done the process and gone through it, I think it feels like obvious to me that when a company, IPOs and reaches a whole new scale, the social impact strategy they had from day one wouldn't match up anymore. And I think that we would be doing our customers a disservice if we hadn't rethought the strategy. But yeah, it took a really long time to get here.
Is there anything to avoid when it comes to overhauling a strategy? Yeah.
Overthinking, I would say, avoid overthinking more generally. We were really concerned that our customers would be upset. I was really worried that customers had become very attached to their specific causes, or that they would read too much into the fact that we went from working with X amount of organizations on climate to one or two organizations working on climate. But actually, our customers just want to see us do good, and they want to trust that the money is going to the best place. And I think because we still have this direct line with Give Back grants and we're doing these micro donations, we didn't lose the heart of Give Back. But I think yeah, I needed to trust more that customers cared in the end product, and they cared a little bit less about all the thinking that that happened along the way. They just want to get that good news, that email that says, hey, your impact, your policy has helped feed a family. They don't need to really understand, okay, well, I've reached out to 50 organizations and I took this dollar impact and I found that it led to this, most impactful result. They just want to have that moment of feeling good.
How did you communicate all that to customers? I imagine if they were attached to an initiative, a cause, and the strategy changed, they might, there might be some whiplash here and there. Like, why are we doing, or why is Lemonade doing this? Was there any communications to customers, and what that look like?
Yeah, of course. So we communicated in our emails. We just said Lemonade Give Back is changing from a cause model to a category model. And I think we only had one question about it, which it was kind of a great result because it meant that people actually really just cared if those high level impact numbers stayed good. They still had that positive boost in their inbox and they trusted us, which kind of goes back to this idea of customer loyalty. And we didn't see high churn from, it's very rare that we do emails to our entire customer base. Give back is actually one of the only moments that we do. So you're obviously always concerned to see churn, and we didn't have that. So I think it was a great communication. It was easy. We didn't make too much noise around it. We just made it an exciting and positive update.
And so now you've gone through the process of overhauling the strategy. When you look back at your experience and reshifting the strategy, If you had to go back and do it all over again, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have changed?
I think it took us a while to get to the final product. I think we had an idea, which was effective altruism, give more to fewer organizations, kind of pool your resources. But it took us a long time to arrive at that conclusion. I'm not really sure why. Obviously, it's also very close to many people in the company's heart, so people needed to get on board. But I think maybe have a clearer idea of like exactly where I wanted the funding to go because that was like the last step. Okay, we've re-envisioned Giveback. We've got these quarterly donations between 300 to 500K. Now, where are we putting that money? I think in hindsight, I would have started with, okay, this is exactly the projects I want to fund, and this is how much it's going to cost per quarter. I think that would have given it a clearer vision and it would have been easier for people who don't work as closely on the impact part of the product to digest it and see, oh, hey, wow, you really are going to build more homes. We really are going to fund clean water for more people. And I think I should have shown that earlier on.
Okay, let's end with this. One thing that I love about the work that you're doing, and you showed it in your presentation, the measuring success slide that you shared. It's clear to me that you're very much in line with connecting impact to business. And as I mentioned, business value is a topic that is top of mind for a lot of practitioners in terms of how to do it and how to do it well. When it comes to your impact work, how do you think about approaching it through a business lens?
I try not to shy away from it. I think so often we want to see social impact as this like higher level on a pedestal, nothing to do with business, just doing good. That's gonna get lost so fast. You know, if social impact had not been pivotal to our business strategy, maybe when Lemonade would have gone public or expanded to Europe, we've said we can start investing less in this part of the business. We're already doing great. So I think that I try and address it head on. And some people disagree with that approach. They don't think that social impact should be considered or spoken about as a, pivotal to business strategy or even to profitability. But I think that's a reason why it's not being adopted at more companies. So why not let's just be upfront about it? I believe social impact can also increase success as a business and profitability and customer engagement. And I don't think we need to pretend that it shouldn't. So yeah, I think just really be clear about it and don't be afraid to own that part of it.
Nina, thank you so much for walking me through the new initiative or new program, rather, new strategy. Again, so impressed with the evolution of Give Back and your work at Lemonade. I cannot wait to see where this all goes. We'll have to come back in another couple of years to see how the strategy has actually, uh, how it's affected the business.
I would love to. Thank you so much. And it's so always so great to speak with you.